Is it possible for a person to vanish into thin air? This is the question that comes to mind when considering the case of Brandon Swanson. Brandon Swanson was born in Marshall, a town in Porter County, Minnesota. He had his high school education at Marshall High School, and then began to study wind turbines for a year at the Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby. Welcome to this channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the mysterious disappearance of Brandon Swanson. Before we continue, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to remain notified about our latest video. And now let's take a look at the story of Brandon Swanson. On May 13, 2008, a day after Brandon's disappearance, Minnesota West had just ended their classes for the academic year, and Swanson decided to stay back and have a little bit of fun with his friends. What he and his friends had no way of knowing, however, was that it would be the last time they would see Brandon. As was normal with most college kids, Swanson was observed at two different parties consuming some alcohol, but his friends later said that the amount of alcohol he drank wasn't enough to get him intoxicated. Later that night, just before midnight, Swanson left Canby for Marshall, which was about 30 miles from his college. It was said that Brandon reached out to his parents just before 2 a.m., telling them that he had driven his Chevrolet Lumina off the road and into a ditch, and that the car was stuck there. He told them he wasn't hurt and asked for them to come pick him up. His parents, Annette and Brian Swanson, got in their car and went out to get their son. They both drove to the location Brandon gave them, hoping they would find him and bring him back home. Even while on the road, Annette and Brian continued talking with Brandon on the phone. Brandon waited patiently in his car for his parents to come and get him. He tried to signal them by flashing his lights on and off, but they never saw it. After waiting in his car with his parents failing to locate him, he decided he couldn't wait anymore. He told his parents that he wanted to walk towards a light he had been seeing, which he believed to be Lind, a small town that was roughly 7 miles from Marshall. He then told his father to head towards the local bar that he had described and wait in the parking lot. Just shortly after 2:30 am, about 47 minutes into the call, Brandon suddenly interrupted himself and exclaimed, "Oh shit," with the call going silent immediately after. After not hearing from Brandon for a while, his parents decided to hang up and try calling him back. They tried calling Brandon back multiple times, but he would not pick up. Sadly, that was the last time either Annette or Brian would ever see Brandon again. Naturally worried after being unable to get through to their son, Brian and Annette decided to report to the Lind Police Department. The police at Lind started a search later that morning, but no trace of Brandon was found in the town or outside. Seeing that the case had become too overwhelming for them, they decided to seek help, requesting the assistance of Joel Dole at the office of the Leon County Sheriff. To get a better focus on the search, the sheriff's office requested and obtained cell phone records from Brandon's phone, which revealed that Brandon had been calling from the vicinity of Taunton, along State Highway 68, which was the main route to Canby, northwest of Marshall, and 25 miles from Lind. After searching in the area, deputies discovered Brandon's car in a ditch off the gravel road along the Lincoln County line, a mile north of Highway 68, which then brought Jack Vizecki, the sheriff at the county's office at that time, into the investigation. He told the media that Brandon's car was found at the edge of an incline, and though the car wasn't seriously damaged, the wheels were prevented from touching the ground on that side. There was nothing strange about the situation in which the car was found. The police also couldn't find any tracks because the area was surrounded by grass and gravel, so there was no way of knowing which direction Brandon might have walked in. The police had tried routing his cell phone through a tower at the intersection of County Routes 3 and 10 near Minnesota, and by May 18, the call had been traced, and it was determined that the calls had come from within 5 miles of the tower, leading the police to concentrate their search in that area. At this point, the authorities in Yellow Medicine County had been included in the investigation as the county was in the circle around which the call was traced. Dole, the sheriff in Leon County, had noted that a red light atop a Taunton grain elevator could be seen from that area. It was then believed that Brandon had probably seen the red light, which probably caused him to believe that Lind was within walking distance. The search for Brandon had gone beyond ground searches, as flyovers by aerial teams and search dogs were brought in from the Twin Cities. A team of bloodhounds from Codington County, South Dakota, picked up a scent trail that followed through fields 3 miles west to an abandoned farm along the Yellow Medicine River, to a point where it appeared to have entered the stream. It was later gathered from his father that Brandon had mentioned passing fences and hearing nearby water. Considering the possibility that Brandon may have drowned, the Department of Natural Resources deployed boats along the river and gates were installed. Sadly, this failed to produce any insight into the whereabouts of Brandon. Eventually, the police exhausted all their resources without any clue about the whereabouts of Brandon, so it was time for them to give it a rest. Though the original search for Brian was discontinued after there was no sign of Brandon, Sheriff Vizecki continued to walk the 2 miles of the Yellow Medicine Trail in that area daily for the next 30 days. Later that fall, searches were resumed because the earlier planted fields had been harvested, and it was believed that the search would be easier in those areas. The dogs in those searches continued to follow the scent of what was believed to be human remains into an area northwest of Porter, where searches had not been carried out before. But there was still no sign of Brandon. Searches resumed again in the spring when the snows had melted, but the fields were not yet planted. This cycle of searches continued through 2011. In 2010, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Intervention took over the lead of the case and set up a tip line. By 2014, they have received up to 90 leads reported through the tip line. Though nobody knows what really happened to Brandon until today, there have been a lot of speculations about what could have happened. Despite some speculations, Annette refused to believe that Brandon may have drowned in the Yellow Medicine River because of her son's last known words and the trails that were followed by the dogs in the search party. She told CNN, "There really is nothing to indicate that he's in the river." His father, Brian, also pointed out that, despite any alcohol Brandon may have taken, he did not sound confused during their conversation on the phone. There is also the remote possibility that Brandon had chosen to disappear on his own. However, Brandon's parents do not believe that it is something their son would have done. Sheriff Vizicki also believed that even though there was little evidence, the possibility of foul play in Brandon's disappearance should not be overlooked. He said, "Someone could have been in the shadows, and they got him that way." One positive outcome from Brandon's story is that his disappearance led to the passage of a bill in Minnesota that required an immediate investigation into the case of a missing adult as soon as it was reported. This bill was proposed after Annette and Brian lobbied for changes to state law after initially being told by the police that Brandon had a right to be missing. Hopefully, as a result of Brandon's law, lives will be saved as a result of prompt investigation into disappearances. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Brandon Swanson, and we can only hope that the truth about his disappearance comes to light. Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay in touch with our latest videos.